Nobody likes you. Nobody ever has, and nobody ever will. Not true. Yes, it is. Why would you think otherwise? What's there to like about you? What do you know about me? Can't you just leave me alone? People just pretend to like you, but everybody really hates you. I'm sitting in the back of the bus. There are no passengers but me and her. Her words are poison. I see her every day, and every day she tries to break me down with her words. You don't know me, I tell her. Oh, but I do. I know everything about you, even the small things. For instance, I know that you take your shoes off every time you enter your house. Oh, yes. I look at the old woman. I feel very disturbed by what she had just said to me. Is she following me? She doesn't take her eyes off of me. Keep following me around and I'll call the police. She doesn't respond and keeps staring at me. A grin appears on her face. Just leave me alone, I say as I get off my seat to get off the bus. It's not my stop yet, but I just don't want to stay on the bus with that woman. Her presence feels very familiar, but it creeps me out regardless. I walk towards the door as the bus starts to slow down. This isn't your stop yet. Where are you going? It's not like you have any friends or family to go to. Nobody wants to see you. I don't reply to her. I just want to get off the bus as soon as possible. The bus stops and the doors open. I don't greet the driver and I get out. I start walking and the bus drives on. The streets and pavement are empty. As the bus passes me, I look at the window and see the old woman still staring at me. I can see her lips moving and I can make out some of the words. I'll be watching you, is what she says. I don't understand why this woman is doing this to me. I don't know her, but for some reason, she knows me. I get lost in my thoughts as I walk home. It's supposed to be a 20-minute walk, but in a blink of an eye, I arrive. I snap out of my thoughts and I realize that I'm in front of my house. I look around a few times to see if the woman is somewhere hiding in the bushes or behind a car. But there's nobody around. The streets are still completely empty. I take off my shoes, open the door and go in, closing the door behind me. I lean against the door and I close my eyes. I shouldn't let her words get to me, but her everyday demeanor is messing with my mind. As I stand there, I don't notice that someone has been ringing the doorbell for minutes now. That's not a doorbell. The door in my room blazes open and a wall of lights blasts through the opening, almost blinding me. There's a person standing in the doorway. Good morning, dear. It's time to wake up. I'll be waiting for you downstairs. Yeah, thanks. I'll get up. Breakfast is ready, my wife says as she walks off. Close the goddamn door then. I turn off the alarm clock and I get up. I feel bad. Every morning I feel bad. These dreams are getting to me, and they're breaking my spirit. They started about 2 months ago and I haven't been able to live normally since. At first, they didn't bother me. Dreams happen. But every night, the same kind of dreams. Every night, seeing the same old woman. Hearing those insults over and over. It gets to me. And then on top of that, I've been feeling that I'm not appreciated by anyone. Not even by my own wife. I haven't had energy for a very long time. I go downstairs after having showered and getting dressed to find my wife sitting at the breakfast table. She looks at me as I sit down and I start eating. How are you feeling today, Jeff? Joanna asks as she looks up from the newspaper. I'm fine, I respond to her. Yeah, did you sleep okay? You look pretty tired. I said I'm fine, really. She keeps looking at me. It bothers me. What? Why are you looking at me like that? She takes off her reading glasses and puts them down on the table. Alright, dear, it's just that I've heard you talk in your sleep for a while now. I'm beginning to worry about you. I mean, I don't want to be annoying or anything, but I find the things you say in your sleep a bit disturbing. I look at her and I ask, "What am I saying then?" "Well, I wrote down a few things," she says as she takes a piece of paper out of her pocket and unfolds it. "You might want to read them for yourself." "I don't want to read them for myself. Just tell me what I'm supposedly saying in my sleep." She puts on her reading glasses again and starts reading with a frown. "Okay. You are saying that you are totally fucking useless. You tell yourself that everybody hates you, that you're better off not existing. You hate yourself. And then you also say that nobody will ever love you. Everybody is useless except..." I cut her off during the last sentence and grab the note from her hand. I crumple it up and I put it in my pocket. "You're making this up. Why would you say these things to me?" "I'm not making this up, sweetie. I love you and I worry about you." "Yeah, right," I say as I get up from the table. "Stuff like this really shows how much you love me. I'm going to work." I grab my coat and I leave the house. It's pouring outside. I walk towards the bus stop with my head down, my hands in my pocket, able to feel the crumpled note. Did I really say all of that? I stand underneath the small shelter at the bus stop, looking at the drops of rain that fall on the pavement. My heart aches. Normally I wouldn't take the bus, but my brother borrowed our car to go on vacation. He left a few weeks ago. It hasn't been that bad to go to work using public transportation though. It's just that I don't feel comfortable being in the same bus that appears in my dreams. I live in a constant fear, irrational as it may be, that this old woman will appear in the seat behind me or next to me. As the bus arrives, I look through the window to see if she's there, but to my great relief, she's not. I get in and I prepare myself for a mentally exhausting day. Cubicles. A lot of people fear ending up in one. The hopes and dreams that they had as a kid lost and soon forgotten, for they will spend an eternity working in that cubicle. I, for one, don't mind working in one. It gives me the rest that I need. It makes it possible for me to not having to interact with colleagues. As I sit in my workspace and I stare at my screen, my mind drifts off to my dreams and the way I've been feeling the past week. I woke up one morning with the ache in my neck and a headache stronger than I had ever felt before. I had had a nightmare that night. I can't remember much from the dream except that I was in a room and I couldn't move. I wasn't alone, there were people around me, but of course I can't remember the details of the dream. It's normal to forget what a dream is about. Every night the same type of dreams, however, 5 or 6 every night, will help to remember what they were about. And that for about 8 weeks. More than 250 dreams where my self-esteem is broken into pieces have made me question my own qualities and the values of my existence. And after each restless night, I have to start the same routine where my colleagues don't appreciate my work. People on the street ignore my existence, and then I come home to my wife who says she still loves me, while deep down inside I know that she's just pretending. For hours, I had been sitting at my desk overthinking things. I went out during lunchtime to take a walk, hoping that the fresh air would do me some good. But who the hell was I kidding? It was raining. The same anxiety from this morning takes over while waiting for the bus to take me home. But once again, the woman isn't there. I haven't spoken to that many people at work and I feel tired as usual. As I return home and enter the house, I greet my wife who is sitting at the dinner table. "Your brother called. He said he'll bring back the car tonight after 9, she says. "Oh, okay, thanks. By the way, I'm not very hungry. I just want to get some rest." "Are you alright though? You know I didn't want to bother you this morning with that note. I just want to take care of you." "I'm alright," I lie to her. I go straight upstairs to our bedroom. I close the curtains quickly, making them shift back and forth for a little while. I lay down on the bed situated in front of the window, with a restless mind troubling me. It takes hours to fall asleep. "I told you that everybody hated you. Did you see the way everybody was looking at you at work? How nobody wanted to talk to you. How everybody tried to avoid you. It's not true. Do you believe that? You really are stupid. And by the way, who were you looking for yesterday at your front door? What? I wasn't looking for anyone. Oh, but you were though. I saw you. I was there. I'm in the city park, although I don't remember how I ended up here. The old woman is here as well. I'm not entirely sure where she had came from. She just appeared. I look at her while she's talking to me. The woman has very few facial expressions. I always assumed that she was old, judging by her gray hair. However, she doesn't have that many wrinkles. I think it's her creaky voice that creates the impression of an older woman. Her eyes are empty. There's no life in them at all. When she talks, only her mouth moves. It seems like the rest of her face is glued stuck. Is there any reason why you're actually stalking me? I hesitantly ask her. I have my reasons. I just have to do it, she replies. I get off the bench that I had been sitting on and I walk away. I look over my shoulder to see if she is following me, but she isn't. She just stands there with her head tilted. Going somewhere. I hear her ask from behind me as I walk in the other direction. I stop and turn to look at her, but there's nothing. She's gone. I turn back to keep walking. My heart skips a beat when I turn and I look straight into the woman's dark, cold, wide-open eyes. She grabs me firmly by both arms and starts talking. I'll find you again, you know. You'll never get rid of me. I'll break you into a million useless pieces and I'll make sure that you'll never be whole again. She lets go of my arms and throws me hard on the ground. I knock my head on the solid rock pathway and I slowly lose consciousness. I wake up on the floor of my room. Unclear as how I managed to roll this far out of bed. I sit up. Another nightmare. I look at the alarm clock in my nightstand and see that it's not even past 11 p.m. As I glance past the clock on the nightstand, I notice that my wife isn't in bed yet. I stand up and go to the bathroom to get some water. Even though it's still early night, I don't want to go to sleep again. As I splash some water in my face and I look at my pale face in the mirror, I can hear some voices downstairs. My wife is still up and she's talking to someone. I listen to the voices, but I can only pick up some of the things that they're saying. I'm worried about him still. I think he's even hallucinating sometimes. It's not your fault. But it is, though. He's my husband. I know he is, and he's my brother. I also remember how he was before, and he's changed. You think I should do something. You can't control the man's dreams. But he's changed so much, and I never expected him to turn out like this. We just have to accept him for who he is now, unless you want to involve some doctors in this. Shouldn't I intervene myself? It's getting worse every day, and I told you about the things that he had written down. All I wanted in life was a husband who'd love me more than anything. I'm not sure what I just heard. The way my wife and brother are talking about me. Over the weeks, I've been getting more and more convinced that the old woman from my dreams might be right. I smack myself in the face. Stop it. It's crazy to think that way because, damn, a dream, it's just a fucking dream. But everybody around me is either disappointed in me or thinks I'm worthless. Everywhere. At work, at home. Even on the street, people look away as I pass. Confused, I walk back to my room, closing the door behind me. There's a small glimmer of light shining through the curtains which I hadn't closed properly. I know where the light is coming from. Our room is situated just above the tool shed that I built years ago. I installed a backyard light system as well, which turns on as soon as it gets dark outside. I suppose I should just get some rest anyway. I walk towards my bed and the curtains and I grab them. Just before shutting them, I notice a bit of movement in the light outside. I take a closer look to see what's moving in the distance. Is it the garden gate that's opened? No, it can't be. It's always locked. It takes me a short while to realize that I'm not staring in the distance. I notice that I'm looking right at a pale face, just centimeters away from me. I stumble backwards and lose my balance as I recognize the face of the woman standing in front of the window. Did you hear the way they were talking about you? I told you that everybody hated you. Do you believe me now? Do you finally get it? Her voice sounds muffled through the window, but the fear she normally gives me only got worse. You can't be here. I'm not asleep, I'm awake. I'm awake, I say as I slap myself in the face, trying to convince myself of my own words. Yes, indeed you are, she says to me. And so am I. I get off the ground and I sprint towards my door. I pull the door handle, but the door doesn't open. I bash in the door, shouting to my wife and brother. They can't hear you, she says with a voice suddenly as clear as crystal. I turn around and notice that the woman is not in my room. Her black clothing makes her posture very hard to see as the only light that's shining into the room is a glimmer from the backyard lighting. Her face, however, is clearly visible, almost illuminating. I see her gliding towards me, barely moving any limbs to get herself forward. She moves very slowly and keeps speaking to me with only her mouth moving. They will not help you. You don't live up to anybody's expectations. You're a burden to them and to everybody around you. You'd be better off killing yourself, or I could do it for you. No, get away from me! I shout to her as she is almost face to face with me. Suddenly she jolts forward and grabs me by my neck, chokeholding me. I try to release myself from her grip, but she's unnaturally strong. I can't breathe anymore. Why? I whimper out with my last breath. I'm doing the world a favor. You're totally fucking useless, remember? Jeff! Get him up off the ground, put him on the bed. Their voices echo through my head as I slowly regain my vision. Joanna? Clarence? I whisper. Yes, dear, it's us. What's happened to you? You were shouting so we ran upstairs and we found you laying on the floor. I look at the faces of my wife and my brother. Jeff, what happened? My wife asks again. It was her. She tried to choke me. The woman from my dreams. I tell her. Joanna looks at my brother and he nods to her. We're going to get you some help. Get you to a doctor, she says. I don't need a doctor. I'm not crazy. I just need I need a gun, a weapon or something so I can get rid of the creep. It's her who did this to me. We need the police or, someone. Jeff, we know what's best for you. We're gonna get you fixed up, okay? Get you safe again. You don't understand. She'll find me. No, she won't. I will make sure of that, I promise. My wife says. Now get up and get dressed so we can go to the doctor. The doctor can help. I hesitantly get up, get dressed, and follow them downstairs. You'll be driving, Clarence? Yeah, I will. The three of us get in the car and drive off. I sit in the back, my arms folded. I'm looking around nervously, trying to ignore the burning feeling of discomfort that's rushing through my head. She's going to get to me before we arrive at the doctor. I know it. Jeff, it's gonna be a long drive, so take some rest. That'll keep your mind off of things, my wife says, trying to get me back into my comfort zone. I don't feel like going to sleep, I reply to her while I unfold my arms. I stick my hands in my pocket and I feel something. Oh right, that stupid note. I take it out of my pocket, unfold it, and I read it through. I didn't even think about reading it for myself before. Dream talk. I'm fucking useless. I am totally fucking useless. Why am I even alive? I don't care about them. Everybody hates me. Nobody will ever love me. Everybody is useless except for my wife. I deserve it all. It's better this way. People only pretend to like me, but they really hate me. I don't blame them. I'm better off dead. Reading the note gives me some very disturbed feelings. The things I read in the artsy handwriting of my wife match up with the things the old creep tells me. I keep staring at the words. Something isn't right. What do you got there, dear? My wife asked me. It's the note that you wrote, but the things I supposedly said in my sleep. Will you stop looking at that? It's not helping. My brother says as he looks over his shoulder to me. Keep your eyes on the road, please, I tell him. It's just weird, this list of things. I mean, I'm starting to believe that I actually said them when I was asleep. I paused to look up from the note to my wife, who turned herself in her seat towards me. The woman in my dream tells me these things as well, and I was believing what she said. But something on the note doesn't match with the rest. My wife keeps looking at the note, then turns her gaze towards me. Like what? You never notice that this whole list consists of me hating everything and everyone, including, well, especially myself. Yet I happen to speak positively about you. My wife looks at my brother. He keeps his eyes stuck on the road. You just love me that much, I know you do. And I'm so happy that you do. She replies. Maybe, I just think it's weird. We're here. This is the address, right? My brother says as the car stops, and my wife nods. He gets out and opens the door for me. I get out, leaving the note on the backseat of the car. He slams the car door shut and lays his hand on my shoulder, and Joanna wraps her arm around mine. We walk towards the freestanding building we parked in front of. The house in front of us is an old but good state. It's not in the city, that's for sure, but I don't recognize the immediate surrounding area. What's this building? I ask. It's where we'll fix everything, my wife replies. We walk up the stairs and she knocks on the big door of the dark building. This can't be a hospital. I want to ask again what kind of building it actually is, but as soon as I want to open my mouth to talk, the light turns on inside. A silhouette visible through the glass window of the door moves towards the entrance. Say, Joanna, this doesn't really look like a hospital or a doctor's office. Are you sure we're at the right address? My brother asks as he looks at my wife. She doesn't respond to him, and I can feel my wife's grip around my arm tightening. I look at her. My brother is still looking at her as well, slightly confused by her sudden change of behavior. I try to move my arm a little bit so she would loosen her grip, but she doesn't even look in my direction as I do so. She keeps looking at the silhouette that's slowly getting closer, and as the door opens, I can make out a familiar face. One that I don't like to see. One that makes me panic. That's her! We have to leave, now! She's the one that's been doing all of this to me, I shout. My brother looks away from me and turns his eye towards the strange figure that appeared in the open doorway. I feel paralyzed and I can't move. My brother lets go of my shoulder, switching his gaze between the woman and Joanna. Hello, doctor, my wife says. The woman speaks with her creaky voice while looking at me, tilting her head. Good evening. Oh, I remember you. How are you feeling? I don't dare to say anything to the woman who's been haunting me. I turn to my wife and my brother. Please, get me away from her. Joanna, what's going on? My brother asks. A few seconds of silence pass. Without replying to him, Joanna reaches inside her jacket pocket and pulls out a gun. She puts the side of the gun in front of my face and shoots Clarence through the head without a second of hesitation. My eyes grow large as the noise of the gun rumbles through my ears, following a loud, high-pitched tone caused by the loud bang. My brother falls over sideways onto the hard stone tiles covering the steps of the stairs. Jesus! I yell out. I pull my arm out of her grip and back away from her towards my brother. I kneel to Clarence and I look at him. My hand shakes as I move it over my brother's body. Shh, honey. Everything will be okay soon. Don't worry about a thing, my wife says as I sit there in the cold. I take Clarence's hand to feel his pulse. As I look up to Joanna, she continues talking to the old woman. Her eyes still focus on me and my brother that she had just shot. Things didn't go the way that I wanted them to. Can you help me out? You know there's no refunds on my services, right? The old woman replies calmly and appears to be unmoved by what had just passed her doorstep. I know, I'll pay you. Just please help me out. Alright then. I'm not going to take care of that body though. Understood. Just give me 1 second, she says while turning around to shuffle back inside. I slowly get to my feet and want to run away. Run to the car to drive away and to find a way to call the police. But as soon as I stand up straight, Joanna points her gun at me. "Please don't run," she says coldly with a slight tremble in her voice. "Found it," the woman shouts from inside the building. She shuffles back to the door and holds her arm up. It's easier to get him inside this way. I look at the object that she's holding, and as soon as I see the needle in her hand, she jumps forward and smashes the thing into my neck. I drop down on the stairs next to my brother. Darkness takes me. My head. I want to hold my head and try to pressure away my headache, but I can't move my arms. What is this? I slowly open my eyes and try to make out the objects in the room. I look to my left and I manage to identify some cutting tools. To the right of me is a chair. I know this room. Don't hate me for this, please. Who said that? The high-pitched beep is still rushing through my ears as I try to recognize the voice. I lift my head to look around the room. My vision is getting clearer by the second. At the end of the table I'm strapped onto, I see a familiar face. Joanna, what's going on? I never wished for this to happen. I just wanted you to love me more, she says while her eyes start tearing up. She still has the gun in her hand and she's still shuffling around on the spot uncomfortably. What did you do to me? She walks to the side of the table. She grabs my hand and starts to talk. I wanted you to love me more. You never loved me enough. You had so much love to give to everything and everyone in life, but not to me. I looked in her eyes, which are tearing up. Why did you make me do this? Why did you hate me? She suddenly yells at me with a touch of hysteria in her voice. She throws the gun on the floor and clenches her hands around the edge of the table. What did you do to me? And what did I do? She looks away from me and smirks. What did you do? Do you hear yourself? She drops down on her knees next to the table and holds my hand while cracking her neck. I never got the feeling that you truly appreciated me. I did everything for you. But why do you hate me then? I never hated you, I tell her. Yes, you did. You did so often. Of course you'll never admit it, she shouted. I looked at her and she just stares right back at me. I don't even know what's going on anymore. I don't even recognize her like this. A silence rushes through the room for minutes. I don't dare to breathe too loudly or to say anything. Joanna tries to hold back more tears while she keeps looking at me, and my hand which she still hasn't let go of. Suddenly the sound of a door opening tears up the silence and both of us turn our heads towards the door. We all know who's entering the room. The same shady old character that's been creeping me out for a long time. She stands still in the doorway. Shall we? She says. Yes, help me out, my wife says to her. The old woman moves around the room slowly while she starts talking. My body goes completely numb from seeing the figure this close to me, especially now that I can't defend myself or run. An interesting one, this guy. I've got years of experience with this kind of stuff. I even reconstructed my own body and face. But thousands of operations on my resume, and I've never ever seen a case like this before. I mean, did I mess up? I might have. She rushes towards me after speaking and bends over me, taking my hand in her hands and examining it. Yes, I think I might have messed up this time, but accidents happen. Mistakes happen. I'm human after all. Well, 40% human and 60% plastic and chemicals, she says with a grin while turning her head to look at my wife. What did you do to me? I ask her. My wife gets up and walks back to the end of the table. The old woman turns back to look at me, breathing heavily. She still doesn't let go of my head. You see that woman over there? She is the most messed up human I've ever seen in a long time. She tells me that I don't love her enough. I tell her that she could be right or wrong. Whatever she wants to hear, that's exactly what I will tell her. She comes to me and asks me if I could mess things up in your brain. She asked me to script the way you feel about things. Basically, she wanted me to make you love her more. Is this true? I look at my wife. She stands at the end of the table and nods. She then raises her hand and slowly gives a thumbs up combined with an awkward smile. The old woman forces my gaze back on her. It didn't turn out too well for you though, I guess. Instead of making you love her more, I apparently accidentally ended up destroying your ability to recognize acceptance and love from others. You didn't even know how to express your own feelings that remained anymore. All that was left was a destroyed self-esteem and even self-hatred. Oops. I keep listening to the woman, unable to reply to her. Her hands are still wrapped around my head, the only part of my body that's not strapped down. She continues talking. She was supposed to get a husband that had nothing but love to give her. However, at what cost? I find the courage to ask her another thing. Why were you haunting my dreams? You terrorized me for weeks, you wore me down until I had nothing left to live for. You followed me everywhere. You even tried to choke me to death tonight. She falls silent for a short while. I can hear Joanna sobbing softly in the background. That's interesting. That wasn't my intention at all. I just received the money and I do my work. He didn't tell me that I was involved in his dreams and hallucinations. She says while letting go of my head and turning towards my wife. I didn't know it was you, Joanna says. She turns to face me again. I suppose you don't remember waking up during my little experiment. I don't, but I've dreamt about this room before. I couldn't remember where I'd seen it, but now I do remember. I also remember the first time I saw your face. I replied to her. Yes, interesting. It seems you destroyed self-esteem and an ability to recognize acceptance took the form of the one person you saw the moment they were being triggered. Which was you. Interesting, she says again. Everything that has happened in the past week is rushing through my head. I lay silent, simply staring at the ceiling trying to collect my thoughts and organize them. But it's no good. My mind is completely numb. Time for me to fix things again, the old woman says. Can you make sure that he doesn't remember anything from what had happened? It won't be easy, but I'll see what I can do. Everything will be okay, sweetie, my wife assures me. I don't respond to her. I don't expect you to forgive me. I only expect you to love me even more when this is all over. My wife is insane, and still I can't blame her. I'm not even mad at her. I should be, but I'm not. After all, I do love her a lot. I close my eyes and realize that they did in fact achieve the goal of their previous experiment on me. I feel another sting in my neck and I let the darkness take me again. Jeff, wake up! I open my eyes and notice that my face is stuck to the car window. My wife is looking at me from her seat while I rub the sleep out of my eyes. I sit up straight and I greet her. Hey, sweetheart. Hi, darling. My wife replies. I didn't want to wake you, but we just got home. You'd slept for so long. Did I? What time is it? I ask her as I look around, trying to remember why we were in the car. Joanna looks at her watch and tells me that it's 10 a.m. in the morning. She smiles at me and I smile back at her. That was quite the night out for you. You got so drunk that I almost had to carry you back to the car. Good thing I was the designated driver, she says laughing. Oh, damn, that's embarrassing. I can't remember anything from last night. You're the best, though. I don't think there's any wife better than you. Oh, sweetie, you're just saying that. Come on, let's go inside. I step out of the car. There's a cold wind rushing around outside, which gives me the chills. I close the car door, but before I slam it shut, I see something in the back seat. It's a small piece of crumpled paper. I take it and I unfold it. I read it through and I can't help but nervously laugh at the little note. Hey Joanna, check this out. I found this weird note. She stands beside me and reads the text that's written on it as well. Isn't that your handwriting, dear? She takes the piece of paper out of my hand and looks at it. Indeed it is. It doesn't matter though. Just forget you ever found it. You'll do that for me, won't you? Sure, anything for you. Let me get our coats though. Are they in the trunk? I reply and I walk towards the trunk of the car. No, leave our coats in the car. Don't open the trunk. I'll take care of it. Joanna urges me. She grabs my arm and playfully pulls me towards the house. She opens the door and I take off my shoes. For the life of me, I cannot remember the last time that I'd slept this well. I say to her before I close the door behind us,